My name is Nora Whitfield, and I am 68 years old. I spent 42 years in a small elementary school library teaching second graders that quiet doesn't mean weak. It means careful. It means listening. Last night, my son-in-law shoved me into my own pantry door because my meatloaf was dry. I split my lip on the brass hinge. I tasted iron and old dust while the game on the living room TV roared like nothing in the world had happened. He told me to quit dramatizing. Then he turned the volume up. This morning, the house smelled like stale coffee and lemon cleaner. The calendar on the fridge still had Frank's handwriting on April. 2 years gone, and I can't scrub him out of those squares. My daughter, Lena, sat at the breakfast bar in her blazer, scrolling a listing for a colonial in Bath Township. She sells houses now. She smiled at me without looking up, that small, brittle kind of smile people wear to funerals. Kyle slid a folder across the counter the way a server slides a check when he's decided you're done lingering. "Sign here," he said. "Contractor needs the deposit by noon." I picked up my readers and blinked at the paper. "Home equity line of credit," I read. "For the deck?" "For the deck," he said. "You don't want guests falling through, do you? This isn't the 90s. He grinned and sipped my coffee without asking. It took me a breath to realize he wasn't joking. "We were patching," I said. "I kept the flyers from Rusty's, half what this says." "Nora," he said, using my name like a scolding. "Things cost money, and since your memory's been off, I'm handling the bills." He tapped the page. "The bank's expecting us at 10. He had taken my car keys last fall for safety. He had consolidated my accounts after Frank's funeral for convenience. He clipped my medical pendant onto a different chain because the old one looked cheap. He called my hesitation dementia, sometimes gently, sometimes like a joke with teeth. I wanted to tell Lena right there that the scrape on my mouth wasn't from a stumble, but she was penciling in an open house on her planner. We all play our roles in small towns. Hers is the achiever. Mine is the helper. His is the man in charge of other people's things. At Maple Federal Credit Union, Muzak hummed over the faint click of keyboards. I have banked there since we still stamped passbooks. The teller windows have little fake ferns on them now, the same carpet with the same blue flecks. Kyle stood so close behind me in line, I felt his breath against my hairline. "Morning, Mrs. Whitfield," said the teller at Station 3. Her name tag read Marta. She had neat blue nails and a steady way of looking. She saw the smear of makeup on my lip I hadn't covered right. She saw the way Kyle answered for me. "We need a cashier's check," he said, sliding the folder onto the glass. Marta's eyes flicked to mine and back to the screen. "Of course," she said lightly. She printed a form. With it, she slid a trifold brochure that looked like CD rates. A yellow star dotted a tiny line at the bottom. "Senior safe. Want discreet help? Ask to use our family restroom." Sometimes the smallest font says the loudest thing. I cleared my throat. "Before I sign, I need to use the family restroom." I tried to keep my voice like I was asking for a glass of water. Kyle's jaw ticked. "Make it quick," he said. "The contractor's waiting." Inside the single stall, the mirror was unkind. White hair frizzed from steam, lips swollen and ugly. The paper towel dispenser hissed out a ribbon like encouragement. There was a soft knock. Not Kyle's knock. That one is sharp. It was gentle. "Mrs. Whitfield?" Marta's voice through the door. "We have a procedure if you want it. If you say you're fine, I'll call no one. If you say you slipped, the branch manager will check on you. If you say you don't feel safe, we contact Adult Protective Services and the police. It stays discreet as long as you need." My voice came out smaller than I like. "I don't feel safe." "Okay," she said, as if we were choosing a book together. "We'll handle it." By the time I opened the door, Mr. Lane, the branch manager, had Kyle on the other side of the lobby and a conversation about funds availability that sounded like molasses. Marta walked me to the far back glass office, the one with the big poster that says, "Your dreams, our loans," over a couple on a porch swing. We didn't swing. She asked for permission to take pictures of my lip and my arms. I said yes. She typed while I spoke. "How long?" she asked softly. "Since the funeral. Maybe before, if I'm honest. He moved in to help Lena. And then everything got efficient." My own laugh surprised me. It had no humor. "He put my Social Security into a joint account. He timed my showers to save water. He told me to let him handle the budget because I mix things up." "Do you?" she asked. Clean, not unkind. "No more than anyone my age who's had a year of long days and empty nights. I still know the Dewey Decimal System without looking at the chart." She smiled with just her eyes. "Do you have any proof of what happened last night?" I touched the silver button on my pendant, the one Frank made me promise to wear after his last scare on the mower. I think I pressed it when I hit the hinge. Blue Sky Medical called me back. He answered, said I bumped it, and hung up. "Do they record?" "They do," Marta said. "APS can request the audio. We've done it before." She dialed with one hand while Mr. Lane stretched a conversation across the lobby like a bridge. 10 minutes later, a woman with a county badge and quiet shoes arrived and introduced herself as Rosa Alvarez from Adult Protective Services. She asked me one question first. Did I want help today? My yes felt like pulling up a blind. Light hurts at first, then it heals. They walked me through the staff hallway that smells like burnt coffee and birthday sheet cake. Mr. Lane cheerfully told Kyle the check couldn't be issued until the hold cleared on my most recent pension deposit, bank language for stall. Kyle's smile cracked like thin ice. I watched him through the glass, pacing, calling someone, stabbing a finger at the counter. His face was a bad shade of red. Rosa drove. I stared at Maple Ridge through the windshield like it was a town I'd read about. We passed the feed store where Frank bought sunflower seed, Rusty's Diner where they know how I like my eggs, the fire station with the pancake breakfast sign out front for Saturday. The world looked intact. My stomach didn't. At Hawthorne Ridge Senior Center, the intake room had vinyl chairs and a bowl of butterscotch candies. I told Rosa the pieces, how the first month after Frank died, Lena and Kyle brought dinner every night because grief makes dishes heavy. How the second month, they helped with the bills. How the third month, my keys stayed in Kyle's pocket for safety. I told her about last night, the pantry hinge, the way he laughed when I bled on my own tile. "Control loves routine," Rosa said. "We're going to break its schedule." We made 3 calls. First, to Blue Sky Medical. They confirmed a 6-minute audio clip tied to my device ID. Second, to Maple Federal. They froze the HELOC and joint accounts and opened a new account in my name only with a temporary debit card I slid into an inside pocket in my purse where only I knew. Third, to probate court. She checked if anyone had filed for guardianship. Someone had. Kyle. The words significant cognitive decline sat there like a wet dish rag on a good table. I didn't cry. Librarians find flashlights when the power goes out. We packed a folder with copies of the bank photos, the incident log, my driver's license, and my Medicare card. Then Rosa took me to St. Luke's to see a nurse named Janelle, who documented injuries with a quiet competence that felt like both apology and promise. She said, "We see this more than you think," and I believed her. She printed the photos and sealed them in an envelope for court. I held my small pile of proof like it was a baby, too fragile to breathe on. That night, I slept at Hawthorne Ridge in a quiet room with a clean bedspread and a reading lamp that worked.
I woke once at 2 to the sound of a cart rolling down the hall and had to remind myself it wasn't someone coming up my stairs. In the morning, Rosa called with a time, 1:30, courtroom 2B, Summit County Courthouse. We would ask for a protection order. We would listen to 6 minutes of my own life that I hadn't been able to stop. I brushed my hair and put on the gray sweater I wear when I want to look like a woman who has her papers in a neat folder, and tucked Frank's handkerchief into my sleeve because he liked me better when I had something a little old-fashioned on. At the courthouse, the metal detector beeped on my pendant. The bailiff said, "You're okay, ma'am," and let me through. Courtrooms all smell faintly of paper and air conditioning and people who don't want to be there. Kyle and Lena sat at the defense table. He wore a tie the color of money. She looked smaller than I remembered, the way children looked after a fever. His attorney had expensive shoes. Our side had a folder and Rosa's steady breath beside mine. Judge Sandra Peebles is the kind of woman whose hair says practical and whose voice says no nonsense. She let the lawyers do their introductions and then looked at me like I was the only one in the room.
"Mrs. Whitfield," she said, "tell me what brought you here." I told her, not the flourishes, not the apologies, just the pantry hinge, the HELOC folder, the bank, the pendant, how my husband had died and my daughter had softened around the edges like bread left out, and this man had walked into the space grief left and rearranged it to fit him. I didn't add, "I should have seen it." Everyone in that room knew we all think we should have seen it. They played the audio. It started with the TV crowd noise, then the scrape of the pantry door and my own breath catching the way a record scratches. His voice was low and mean. "Don't you dare start that crybaby routine. You'll sign what I tell you to sign." There was a bang. I still don't know if it was my shoulder on the frame or the door coming back on me. Then his shrugging line, "You don't have to like it, you just have to obey." It's a strange thing, hearing the moment you start to be believed. Rena flinched, like the sound hurt her body. Kyle stared at the table. The attorney shuffled papers. Judge Peebles didn't move until the last second of silence ended. Then she signed the protection order without commentary. No contact, no residence, no control of my accounts, surrender of any firearms, return of any property removed without permission. She set a hearing on the guardianship petition and ordered an evaluation by a neutral geriatric specialist within 10 days. Kyle stood up too fast. "This is a witch hunt," he snapped. "She's confused. She's broke. She needs me." The judge didn't raise her voice. "Sir, sit down." He sat. The bailiff's hand hovered like a parent's hand near a toddler about to touch the stove. 2 days later, the county prosecutor filed charges for domestic violence and theft from an elderly person. Marta's documentation and Janelle's photos and that small 6-minute piece of audio made a single clean story. I moved through the week like one of those slow-motion videos kids watch of seeds cracking open. It hurts to grow. With police escort, I went home to pack. The house looked staged. The couch throw was folded too neatly. My magnet spelled "breathe" on the fridge like a joke. In the laundry room, tucked under the detergent, I found a pawn ticket for my wedding band, dated last month. I held that thin slip of paper like it could cut me. Rosa made a call. The ring was still in a drawer at a pawn shop on East Market. We got it back. At the bail hearing, Kyle tried charm. Charm couldn't climb over the text messages the prosecutor read out loud, him telling Lena they needed to get the HELOC before the old bat gets cold feet, him calling my house our investment. Words tell on you when you think nobody's keeping the receipts. The judge set bail with a GPS anklet and conditions he hated: no contact, no access to my accounts, no entry within 200 yards of Hawthorne Ridge or my house. After that hearing, Lena found me in the hallway by the county seal plaque. "Mom," she said, her voice pushed up against a dam, "I thought he loved us." I know what hope sounds like. It sounds exactly like denial. She started crying the quiet way she cried when she was 9 and broke her arm on the monkey bars. She told me about the first shove she framed as a joke, the paychecks he borrowed, the promotion she didn't take because he needed the car. Shame looks the same in every generation. I didn't say leave him. I said there's a spare bed at Hawthorne Ridge for a week. Then we'll get you a small apartment near the office and a therapist who won't let you minimize. The rest is your work. She nodded like someone who hasn't slept in a year. We walked to the elevator together, like two women learning to walk on a deck that finally stopped listing. Blue Sky mailed a USB drive of the audio a week later. The librarian in me labeled it Whitfield, evidence, and put it in a safe deposit box at Maple Federal. Marta handed me a tiny key with a red tag and smiled like a friend who doesn't need thanks. The bank unfroze my pension deposit and credited back withdrawals that Kyle had made for household needs without telling me. I signed a new signature card that felt like a small ceremony. My hand shook. I kept my pen. The guardianship petition evaporated on a Tuesday like fog. The geriatric specialist gave me a small battery of tests. Draw a clock, remember 5 words, name animals that start with B. I named beaver and bear and bison and blue whale and believed in my own brain again. Judge Peebles wrote one sentence I underlined 3 times in the dismissal order. Miss Whitfield is capable of making her own decisions. The morning after that, Rusty's Diner refilled my coffee without asking. Rusty himself has a way of clapping your shoulder like your family. He said, "Heard you gave the courthouse a show. Good for you." People started talking to me differently at the grocery store. The pharmacist called me by my name and not by my number. The mail carrier asked if I wanted my packages walked up. Maybe nothing had changed, but how I stood. I made a list on a yellow pad because lists mean progress to me. Call the locksmith. Meet with the credit union about undoing the joint account. Contact Lena's office about an apartment with sunlight. Ask Janelle about a support group. Take in the hem of my gray skirt because walking finally felt like something I would be doing a lot. I made a second list labeled only if it feels right. Church, book club, pancake breakfast at the fire station, bingo with Miss Dot in 2C. It felt silly writing bingo on a list like that, but joy is a kind of evidence too. On Saturday, I took a pie to the fire station pancake breakfast, pecan, in the dented tin with my name scratched on masking tape. Mr. Lane bought a $20 stack of 50/50 tickets and lost cheerfully. Marta waved across the room with a coffee in each hand. Janelle had her hair down and freckles showing. A Boy Scout asked if I wanted extra butter and called me ma'am like respect was a habit he'd been raised to keep. I breathed. I didn't count the seconds between breaths. I didn't listen for footsteps on stairs that weren't there. Lena moved into a small 1-bedroom with shrubs out front and a dishwasher that hums. She cried on the floor the first night because silence is loud when you first move into it. I brought her a lamp. We talked about boundaries, like other people talk about the weather. Daily, practical, life-saving. We agreed on words to use if we were slipping. We agreed on calling each other before decisions. We agreed we had been wrong in different ways for too long. Repair feels like sanding a splinter. It stinks, and then it stops hurting. Kyle pled not guilty first, then guilty when the discovery landed on his lawyer's desk like a neat stack of consequences. Audio, photos, bank records, pawn tickets, the frozen HELOC. He is not the first man to be surprised by paper. He won't be the last. He'll have time to think about routine in a place where he doesn't set the schedule.
Late one afternoon, I stood in my kitchen and made meatloaf. Not because I needed to prove a point to anyone, but because I like the way the house smells when it's in the oven. I set the table for one and ate with the window open and an oldie station turning the air soft. I looked at the pantry door and touched the hinge. Frank's handprints are probably still somewhere on that wood. I said out loud, "We're okay." It felt simple. It felt true. People think the moral is leave. That's part of it. But the moral is tell. Tell the teller, tell the nurse, tell Adult Protective Services, tell the judge. Shame starves in daylight. Control hates paperwork. The sound of your own voice, steady in a county courtroom, is louder than any shove in a kitchen. If you were listening to this, and you are someone like me, someone who keeps everyone else's secrets and keeps your own too, take this as permission. You can pick up a brochure that doesn't look like a lifeline and ask to use the family restroom. You can press a pendant by accident and decide it was on purpose. You can find one person with a badge and say, "Today." And if your voice shakes, it still counts. These systems were built by people who know that strength often sounds like a polite request. I wear my wedding band again. It has a scratch I never noticed before. Probably from our first apartment when we didn't own a pot that didn't wobble. I spin it sometimes when the house is too quiet. I carry a small blue bank book that is mine, just mine. I have a key to a safe deposit box on a red tag, and a house key stamped with a number only I know. Miss Dot likes to say we collect small proofs of ourselves. She means prayer cards and grandkids' drawings. I mean the other kind too. Account numbers that start with me, orders with my name on them, audio files labeled for my last name and the word evidence, a list on a yellow pad with items crossed out in firm pen. When I walk into Rusty's now, he doesn't ask how I am, like men ask when they don't want the real answer. He says, "Turkey sandwich?" And I say yes. He says, "Gravy?" And I say yes. He winks like we're conspirators. Lena sometimes meets me there after a showing. We split a slice of pie the way we used to split fries when she was in high school and pretending she didn't like chocolate. We make plans. She has more color in her face. The credit union put a small sign near the door after everything happened. It doesn't say what you would expect. It says, "Friendly staff, confidential conversations, ask us anything." I think about that sometimes, how rescue can sound like a sales pitch on purpose so it can work when you need it. One evening, I went to the Maple Ridge Fire Station again, not for pancakes, but because the Seniors Club uses the hall for a potluck on the last Thursday of the month. I brought deviled eggs, the kind with paprika that turn your fingers a little red. People brought Jell-O salad and casseroles and Pyrex marked with masking tape names. We bowed our heads for a minute because some people still like to say grace. Miss Dot led bingo afterward. I want a keychain shaped like Ohio. I clipped it to my real key. It made a satisfying jingle. On the way out, a woman with a soft voice I recognized from church put a hand on my arm and said, "I heard. I'm sorry. I might need that brochure too." I wrote my number on the back of a napkin. You pass along the tools you used. That's how small towns heal. Not with speeches, with napkins.
The day the judge dismissed the guardianship, Rosa took a photo of me on the steps of the courthouse holding the order. I look my age in it. I like that. I sent it to Blue Sky with a thank you, to Marta with a note that said I owe you a pie, and to Janelle with a heart. You can say thank you to the people who held their end of the rope while you learn to hold yours again. I kept thinking I needed an ending to this story, the way books need endings. But most good books leave a little light under the door, so you know the people keep living. My ending is that I sleep. I wake up when I want to. I run the water until it's warm and stand there because hot water feels like being cared for.
I keep my pendant on because Frank was right. Just in case is not superstition, it's wisdom. I alphabetize the cookbooks on my shelf for fun. I say no out loud and listen to how it fills a room. I laugh sometimes, not because anything is funny, because relief does that too. If you were in my kitchen right now, I would make you tea in a mug with a chip in the rim and tell you the same thing I am saying into this microphone. You are not failing if you didn't see it. You are not dramatic if it hurts. You are not crazy if you hesitate. Ask for the family restroom. Ask for the nurse. Ask for the order. Ask for the paper. There are people standing by who know exactly what to do next. And one of them might be a teller with blue nails who will star a line on a brochure because she has decided you are hers to protect for 5 minutes, which is sometimes long enough to change a life. The hinge on my pantry door squeaks now when I open it. I thought about oiling it last week, and then I didn't. I like the sound. It tells me where the door is. It tells me when it moves. It tells me it's working. I don't need quiet everywhere anymore. I need honest noises. The coffee maker burbling, the mail slot clacking, the laugh Lena makes when I say something too true. The keychain shaped like Ohio tapping against my house key when I turn the lock, coming home to a place that is mine. I am a retired librarian. I am a widow. I am someone's mother. I am not an allowance. I am not a hinge. I am not a line on a loan. I am the person who said the words, "I don't feel safe," and found out that saying them out loud is a bridge, and that on the other side of that bridge is a town that smells like pancakes on a Saturday and lemon cleaner on a Tuesday, and a courthouse where your voice counts the same as anybody else's. If nobody has told you lately, let me be the one. You are allowed to walk across. You are allowed to keep the key. You are allowed to write your own ending, and if you change your mind later, you are allowed to write another. The day the judge dismissed the guardianship, Rosa took a photo of me on the steps of the courthouse holding the order. I look my age in it. I like that. I sent it to Blue Sky with a thank you, to Marta with a note that said I owe you a pie, and to Janelle with a heart. You can say thank you to the people who held their end of the rope while you learn to hold yours again. I kept thinking I needed an ending to this story, the way books need endings. But most good books leave a little light under the door, so you know the people keep living. My ending is that I sleep. I wake up when I want to. I run the water until it's warm and stand there because hot water feels like being cared for. I keep my pendant on because Frank was right. Just in case is not superstition, it's wisdom. I alphabetize the cookbooks on my shelf for fun. I say no out loud and listen to how it fills a room. I laugh sometimes, not because anything is funny, because relief does that too. If you were in my kitchen right now, I would make you tea in a mug with a chip in the rim and tell you the same thing I am saying into this microphone. You are not failing if you didn't see it. You are not dramatic if it hurts. You are not crazy if you hesitate. Ask for the family restroom. Ask for the nurse. Ask for the order. Ask for the paper. There are people standing by who know exactly what to do next. And one of them might be a teller with blue nails who will star a line on a brochure because she has decided you are hers to protect for 5 minutes, which is sometimes long enough to change a life. The hinge on my pantry door squeaks now when I open it. I thought about oiling it last week, and then I didn't. I like the sound. It tells me where the door is. It tells me when it moves. It tells me it's working. I don't need quiet everywhere anymore. I need honest noises. The coffee maker burbling, the mail slot clacking, the laugh Lena makes when I say something too true, the keychain shaped like Ohio tapping against my house key when I turn the lock, coming home to a place that is mine. I am a retired librarian. I am a widow. I am someone's mother. I am not an allowance. I am not a hinge. I am not a line on a loan. I am the person who said the words, "I don't feel safe," and found out that saying them out loud is a bridge, and that on the other side of that bridge is a town that smells like pancakes on a Saturday and lemon cleaner on a Tuesday, and a courthouse where your voice counts the same as anybody else's. If nobody has told you lately, let me be the one. You are allowed to walk across. You are allowed to keep the key. You are allowed to write your own ending, and if you change your mind later, you are allowed to write another.